What is real strength? I mean, right now in America, online, there are some people who are ridiculously strong. And there are some people who maybe don't look quite as impressive. And so where do we set the bar for when I'm actually getting strong enough? Now, this is kind of a trick question, and I'll tell you why here in a moment. As a trainer who's been doing this professionally for over 20 years, I can tell you that comparison with others is the beginning of a very slippery slope that can take you to some incredibly dark places. So what we want to talk about today is what real strength actually looks like by the numbers. And I'm going to give you guys some very personal examples. There was a time after I stopped boxing professionally full-time that I went to powerlifting. And inside that little year and a half gap, I got my deadlift up to 515 pounds in a strict sense. I didn't use straps. I had a pause at the top. I didn't descend after I started my ascent until I was fully locked out with the hips. It was a competition lift. 515 pounds is nowhere near the world record. It's it's less than half, I believe, of what the current world record is. Guys like Eddie Hall will pick up 500 pounds with one arm because, let's face it, they're pretty much superhumans. However, for the average person, 500 pounds or above is very, very strong. It's considered strong on a national level by most organizations that practice strict deadlifting, or what we call Olympic lifts. And so if you look at the almighty prophet Google and you say, hey, Google, how many people in the world can strict deadlift more than 500 pounds? You'll find that it's significantly less than 1% of the world's population. Now, why do I bring that up? Because there are multiple people that I've seen recently who have started their fitness journeys online, and they're documenting the process for accountability, for support, for community, for whatever reason. And they get to a lift that for them is a PR or a personal record. And in the comments, you have people that are just absolutely tearing them down. There was one person the other day that had a bench press of 185 pounds, and that was their new PR. And it was beautiful. It had a pause at the bottom, strict form, no straps, beautiful, beautiful form. And everybody in the comments, that might be an exaggeration, many people in the comments, or enough people in the comments, were so incredibly negative. Some even saying, man, you should just go off yourself because I would be too embarrassed to show a bench press of only 185 pounds online. Now, there's an argument that says, hey, they put themselves out there, they're opening themselves up for criticism and for support. And I get that. But guys, we got to remember that people on these apps are actual people, not just numbers or screens. And so I want to say this, there's a concept going around that if you can't bench over 400, then you're not even worth trying. However, when you look at the numbers, thanks again to Google, you find that most people in the world cannot bench 225 pounds. 225 pounds is benchable by an estimated 2% of the world population. Guys, that's a great number to reach. If you can hit 315, you're doing wonderful. Personally, I've trained people in boxing that are very world-class bench pressers that can bench press more than I can deadlift, and it is insane. But the number of people out there can be counted in the state of just North Carolina alone, right? For the whole world, right? So if you've got billions of people and 1% can bench that over 225, and then you've got someone benching 574 pounds, that's a few thousand people in the world, maybe. And so my saying, and the reasoning, I guess you'd say, behind this is, let's remember, first of all, comparison mindset is dangerous because you're the only person you should compete with is yourself. Second of all, when we're making these comments, let's be a little bit more realistic. One of the benefits of social media and the internet is that we can see the very best in the world. One of the disadvantages is that we can compare everybody else to that tippity top 0.001%. And let's remember, guys, everybody's working to better themselves, and we should support that.